Hello, my name is Khalid Jahil. This video today is for English 102 for Professor Jeff. This is my reflective video on what I've learned in the class so far relating to the motorcycle and basically how that works. I'm going to be talking about different concepts in class, what we learned, and different concepts on a motorcycle and how those two relate. Um, Basically, this is a video kind of wrapping up everything that was taught in class and explaining what I am taking from this class. So I will start off by talking about the bike and the different aspects it has. So for example, here you have your front brake, here you have a clutch, here you have your front rotors, you have your gas tank, you have turn signals here, you have a rear brake here, exhaust, pegs, seat, and I'm blanking out, but you have your chain as well, clutch shifter to select gears, and forks as well, key, and I would say maybe your headlights and horn. So basically these are a lot of different things on the bike. Oh, and your throttle. These are a lot of different things on the bike, and all of these things have to work together for you to have a good riding experience. So the same way that if you are writing a paper or you're doing research on something, you have to have different concepts work together to make a solid paper, research paper, argumentative essay, all of those have to come together to have a solid paper or a solid point to argue. So for me, I would relate on this argumentative paper that I recently did. There was an introduction, there was a discussion, background information, literature review, and conclusion. I would maybe say that the introduction is kind of like your throttle. It's what gets you going, what hooks the writer. So same way, you hop on a bike, you give a little bit of gas, that's what gets you going. And then background information, I would say, is kind of like feeling yourself on the bike. So, you put your leg over the bike, which I'll do here. You put your leg over the bike and you're sitting here and you're taking in everything that's going on. So for example, you have your throttle here, clutch, brake. You're familiarizing yourself with what's going on the bike. You're same with your dash. You can see your RPMs, check engine lights, are your lights working, miles, how much gas you have, etc. So that's kind of like the background information. The literature review that we did for me would be like learning more in depth into the bike. So the real things that matter. So not just the gauges, not just your little buttons up front. That would be knowing if your pads are okay on the brakes. That would be knowing if your turn signals are working. That would be knowing if you have enough oil in the bike, how much oil, what type of oil, etc. That would be your chain. Is it lubed up? Is it cleaned? Can you ride it? Is there enough slack, etc.? That also your tires. These are important things that are contributing to you and your riding experience. The same way that these are important things contributing to you and your essay. So, if you don't have a good literature review, you cannot have a good essay. If you don't have good tires, brakes, chain, etc., spark plugs on your bike, you're not going to have a good riding experience. Furthermore, the discussion. That's kind of like, what are we going to do with this information that we were just told? So for example, on the bike, your discussion is, now that we know there's a throttle, there's a brake, your tires are good, etc., what are we doing with this information? Where are we going with this? So for me, this would be, now that you know where your throttle is, your brake, you know that your tires are good, you know that you have a decent chain, oil is well in the bike, etc. With this, now you can ride the bike. So the discussion is saying, what are we going to do? Basically relating to this, now you're going to ride the bike. You're going to take it somewhere. You're going to learn different things about it. That's what the discussion is. And the conclusion is saying, especially in this class when we learned about the main questions you ask when you ask a conclusion is, so what and now what? And you can relate this back to the bike. So what that all these things work? So what that you have nice tires or you have good brakes, or let's say you don't have good brakes. And what are we gonna do with this? Where do we go from now? So now that I know that I've got everything in working order, now I can enjoy this motorcycle. Just like an essay, you can enjoy what you learned and you can apply what you learned. So now that I know that everything works, and also if I know how to ride the bike, then I can apply what I've learned to the bike. Same with the way I've learned in English. I've learned how to do research, peer-reviewed journals, academic journals, researching on the library of UWW. Now that I know this, I can apply this to other essays and future writings that I do. The same way I can apply this to this motorcycle. Just because this is not a Suzuki, but it's a Triumph, doesn't mean that I don't know that, brakes can be bad or good. I don't know that the tires can be good, or that doesn't mean that I don't know how to change an oil on a motorcycle. It's relatively all the same, and you can apply this knowledge that you've learned onto another bike. Same thing onto another essay. Furthermore, other things that we learned in this class, like looking at different viewpoints, reading, personal response essays. When you write your essay, what are you trying to make the writer feel, and what are they going to do with this writing that you're writing? Helps you really write a different essay. The same way that if I was going to sell this bike, what do I want you to feel when you come buy this bike? I want it to be clean. I want it to have good maintenance. I want you to look at the bike and not be worried about your safety. That's the same thing as an essay. You want to make sure people can take you seriously with your writing, that you've done good research, and that your essay should mean something. So your thesis should be good. And furthermore, I think overall in the class, what I learned and what I can take away from me is, again, solid research, good writing, and writing in multiple different ways that can be impactful. So not just writing about one thing, but writing about multiple different things in one writing source. And I think that speaks volumes. So, from what we were taught in the past, for high school, for example, but now what we're taught here, it's so different. And this is honestly very impactful to me, because going into this class, my writing was not the best. And when I submitted that paper from what I wanted out of the class, I think I got definitely what I wanted. I can write better, I can write faster, I can read faster, and I can research faster. And when you can do all of those things, you can definitely write a better paper. If you're sitting there reading multiple articles, but you can't know how to, take information from that, if you don't know how to write an APA format, you're going to struggle. So definitely from what I've learned in the class, I think I can definitely apply that. So basically, yeah, that is overall what I learned in the class and relating it to my bike. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. So thank you, Professor Jeff, for an awesome year. And hopefully I'll maybe see you again next year if I ever need some writing help. But yeah, have a good summer.